Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out this evening to our Schuyler, Colfax, and Wayne Hills winter concert. You can give yourself a hand. You'll deserve it. You give us enough tonight. We appreciate you being here tonight for a number of reasons. One is we know that this season is a very, very busy season for everyone. And to give up an evening, to come out and hear live music, we know is tough on people's time, but we hope to give you something that's very much worthwhile for it. At this time of year, people talk about gifts a lot, and giving gifts and receiving gifts, and we hope that both will happen tonight. You'll receive the gifts of our students, their talents, their heads, their hearts, and our students hopefully will receive from you the gift of the appreciation. Maybe for some of you, this is the only time this season you'll get to hear live music. But we welcome you tonight. It's our pleasure to have you here. And we'd like to start off our program with our very special guests from Schuyler Colfax Junior High School, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade choirs, under the direction of Miss Marsha Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Paterno. Yeah. And just one before we start, thank you, Ken, that I'm still Miss Owens. Yeah, okay. Moving right along. We're starting this evening with a selection by our 6th grade choir, standing behind me, who will later be joined by 7th grade and then 7th and 8th grade together. Our 7th grade and 8th grade select choirs will be singing Candle in the Night, and then they will be joined again by the 6th graders for a finale from Schuyler Colfax School. Do you hear what I hear?
Thank you very much, guys. Wonderful to have you with us this evening. One of the things we like to do at this time of year is, as we said, sometimes finds gifts. And I know in my own childhood, one of the most wonderful thing in the world was when you thought you had opened the last gift. And then maybe you found one more tucked behind the tree or a piece of furniture. And you were so excited about that gift because it was something you didn't know existed. Well, our next performer would fall into the exact same category. Alexander Huang, his bio is in the program, so I'll let you read it. But he has been featured in, has won, and has performed all over the northeastern United States. And he's a gift that we found recently, and we'd like to share him with you, Mr. Alexander Huang. As we said, it's always wonderful to find something you didn't know existed. In fact, in some ways, a man wrote an article last year in the paper, I believe it was the Herald News or the Record, that said that there wasn't much art going on in Wayne. And I know some of you responded to him as I did, and I know some of that wasn't so nice, but those of us who have found so much of what's going on with our students, or your appreciation to come out on a busy season like this to enjoy our students, it is here, and we're happy to uncover it as much of it as we can. If any of you are looking for seats, our high school band is moving out to perform right after our high school choir, so if you need a couple of seats, there's a few seats in the back here. We'd like to keep our program moving and turn it once again over to Miss Marsha Owens, this time with the Wayne Hills High School choruses. Ms. Owens.
Young ladies and gentlemen standing behind me are members of concert choir. Students in the high school have to go through 1 year of concert choir before they are selected for chamber choir, which will join this group shortly. They all look so lovely and angelic and handsome standing up there. Yeah. Try having them 8th and 9th period at the end of the day, 5 days a week. beginning of the year, I was so thrilled for the first time ever in my career. Not that I don't love the voices of the gentlemen I've always had every year, but for the first time ever, I've had an all-female chamber choir. And I was so thrilled for 2 days. And then it was like 5 days a week having 19 of my daughter, 8th period every day. Yeah.
Coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the flood, your sons and daughters. Let the river run, let all the dreamers wake the nation. Come, the new Jerusalem. Silver cities rise, the morning lights, the streets that lead them, and sirens call them on with a song. It's asking for the taking, trembling, shaking. Oh, my heart is aching. We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters. Feel the green and smoke, stand on a star, and blaze a trail of desire through the darkening dawn. It's ours for the taking. Come run with me now. The sky is the color of blue you've never even seen in the eyes of love. My heart is aching. We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters. The dreamers with the It's ours for the taking, trembling, shaking. Oh, my heart is aching. We're coming to the edge, running on the water, coming through the fog, your sons and daughters. Let the river run, let all the dreamers wake the nation. Come, New Jerusalem. Let the river run, let all the dreamers wake the nation. Come, the new Jerusalem.
Gotta love them, gotta love them. Their next selection is First Snowfall, and my accompanist is Miss Susan Lowe. lovely, angelic ladies in their beautiful gowns and their beautiful hair and smiles will show you what they're really all about.
shine eternally. May this holiday enlighten the way for others. Happy Hanukkah, my friend, from me to you. Happy Hanukkah, my friend, from me to you. Happy Hanukkah, my friend. From me to you. From me to you.
Our final high school choral selection this evening is a traditional piece with very classic carols and wonderful piano interludes in between. Right, guys? Yeah. Gotta go to the piano. the stage over to Mr. Paterno.
Thank you very much. One of the most people's favorite time around the holidays is New York City. A lot of the cultural events that go on there, but also the way it's decorated and how nice everybody usually is in New York most of the time, or at least around the holiday time. So we'd like to keep that spirit for a couple seconds and present Alex Chilowitz and Aaron Staluppi in their rendition of New York State of Mind. They wanted to put out a hat and see if we could collect some money, but we weren't able to. If you will give us exactly 35 seconds, we're going to bring on our concert band. There's some seats up front if people would like to fill in. Thank you very much. 35 seconds, we'll be right back. Would whoever's near. Would whoever's near the back please be kind enough to close the back doors? Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a march called Portsmouth, which is a town both in England and in New Hampshire, both seafaring towns, and you can kind of hear that in the melody of the piece. I'd like to keep our program moving now and turn the baton over to my friend and colleague, Mr. Rob Vogel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real special treat for you tonight, something very, very different. We're going to present a piece tonight entitled The Telltale Heart, which was based on Edgar Allan Poe's book, written by Larry Clark. And it's an absolutely incredible piece at bringing across the story of the Telltale Heart. And before each movement, we're going to give you a quick paraphrase of that part of the story. And at the end, there'll be a quiz. No, this is not English. There will be no quizzes. But we wanted to do that so you could really understand the musical pictures that this piece paints.
True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous. I'd been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and in earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you this whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, he had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye, yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye, with film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. So you've seen he would have been a very profound old man. Indeed, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than unusually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and the old man not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps the old man heard me, for he moved in his bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch, and the thick darkness, for the shutters were closed fastened, though through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he would not see the opening in the door, and I kept on pushing it steadily. I had got my head in, and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in his bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For another hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear the old man lie down. He was still sitting up in bed, listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. And now, have I not told you what you mistake for madness is but an acuteness of the senses? Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew the sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldiers into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could to maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker, louder, and louder every instant. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and kept still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw upon the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then sat upon the bed and smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would be heard through the walls. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, wild audacity at my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted on familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ear. But still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feelings, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles, in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I sat and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all, continually increased. It grew louder, and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything better than this agony, anything more tolerable than this derision. I could bear their hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt I must scream or die, and now again, hark, louder! Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, it is the beating of his hideous heart.
It's amazing. Whoa, sorry. It's amazing how powerful music can be, and when you put it with words and you put it with a specific idea. An experiment was once done where they took a movie score, and they took the same movie and played 6 different pieces of music behind it, and actually got 6 different reactions from the crowd. So it's an amazing thing that music can do. Tonight, the incredible group of young people behind me that you see are performing their 20th public performance of the fall. Now, most of you know that because you've been there with us, which we sincerely appreciate. But one of the things that maybe you can or you can't tell from their performance tonight that I'm very, very proud of, and I congratulate you as parents and as supporters, and I congratulate them on, is the wonderful open-mindedness and the wonderful ability they've had to concentrate and take new ideas and learn new ideas. So we appreciate all of that. Please. Now, after that piece, several of the band members told me the audience is going to be really depressed. So we better do something to make them a little happier. We have a piece entitled Winter Wonderland, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And I said to the band that if we played this piece, most of you would think I was a flake. But I figured you'd get my drift eventually. I figured that one would slay you. This is Winter Wonderland. Thank you. We hope that got you back from Telltale Heart a little bit. We've had a bunch of our students this weekend were successfully auditioned for North Jersey Area Band. About 380 students tried out. 8 students from our school were picked out of about 160. And this is a lot like all county sports. The only difference really is that after being chosen through an audition process, these students actually have to get up and perform a concert, many times with people they don't even know. And I'd like to introduce them to you quickly. Dave Kim, stand up please. Mike Ratner. Alex Chilowitz. John Huang. Jeff Petriello. Dave Ortez. Where's Dave? Dave's back here. You might not be able to see him. Pete Yun. And Will Sue. Before we get to our last piece, I'd like to answer a question that I get occasionally is, the students look great up here tonight, but why don't you perform in the uniforms anymore? And I'd like to pass on the information that, fortunately, I guess, we can't. There's too many of us. So the students did a lot of work. I know you as parents did a lot of work getting the outfit for them this evening, and we appreciate that a great deal. Before we play our last piece, Tempest Rising, you can tell by the title is about a storm. We wish you very happy holidays. Thank you for coming out to everything you've come out tonight and or the rest of the season, and invite you to share some refreshments with us afterwards. Thank you very much for coming. get to all your shopping. Thank you very much.